Osiris.
What's going on, everybody? I am your girl, Karina Rykman, and I am absolutely overjoyed to welcome you back to yet another episode of Inappropriate Happiness, baby. And I am joined by my dear pal. He's sitting next to me. We're both on wooden chairs, gripping the microphone with a fistful of steel. It is my boy, Isaac Slone. How you doing, dude?
Karina, you're being too fabulous. You have to stay and talk with me.
I would be thrilled. I feel like we need to let people in on this. Guys, this is good stuff. We're just off to the races already, okay? So, Isaac and I were at a show that shall not be named recently, and we're sitting around, hanging out, and a very nice, well-intentioned guy, comes around, sort of definitely on psychedelic drugs. Who's to say, though? I just don't know. Kind of twitching a little bit, tweaking a little bit, trying to get close, and sort of hovering. I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, hey, and that's totally cool. I'm super here for that. But, he went away and Isaac was like, dude, did you know that guy? And I was like, no. He's like, cool. Like, there was a second there where I was just going to be like, dude, you're being too weird. You got to go. And that has sort of worked its way into our vernacular over the last couple of weeks, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's been actually an extraordinary year of going to shows with you and the love that you get from the audiences of these different bands of all varieties and all different kinds of adoration from people who are clearly shy and being a little bit coy when they come up to you and just want to introduce themselves.
Sure.
To other people who relay facts about you back to yourself.
Always.
And, generally people who want to chat. And for me, it's very cool.
And for me, it's very cool. I pride myself on being a woman of the people in this regard. I like to sell my own merch. I don't have I love talking to people after the show, before the show. Or doesn't even matter what kind of headspace I'm in. It's all good. Like, I love the public,
Oh, and a majority of these people translate then to friends.
Oh,
too.
Yeah, totally. That's, many of my adult friendships have been made in this regard, which, have a lot to say about as well. But yeah, once in a while, it's just like, for the record, everybody, like, I'm, honestly, it's so shocking to me that people come and say hello at the shows I attend, knowing who I am from my whatever, the podcast, my musical career. Maybe that one time I was on America's Got Talent with a flame-spewing helmet on my head. I just don't know where they know me from. But so I'm always, super taken aback in a good way and just being like, oh my God, hey, yeah, totally. No, I'm just here to enjoy the show much like you, But yeah, that one situation, I'm just going to come out and say it, if you want to say hey, totally come say hey. But like, the sort of hovering and whispering and like not, you know what I mean? It's like, I know, like we can just totally just say hey, you know what I mean? And there's no need to be too weird and have to go.
Because we want you to be too fabulous and have to stay, baby.
Yeah. The most thing is, the thing that we want more than anything is, dude, you're being too fabulous. You got to stay, which is how Isaac opened the episode. Like
Speaking
a boss.
of, you've been at a couple of shows last week. Tell us. What do you do? Tell us everything.
Tell us more. So what, we've had a very nice week of show going. Oh my God. Including, things I would have never attended were it not for my friend and lover, Johnny Beach, which is a stupid way of saying my boyfriend of the last 5 years. So Johnny is a concert promoter here in New York City. So I, with great pleasure, get to, attend the concerts he puts on. One of which, very, out of left field booking for Johnny, right, was 3 Days Grace at Webster Hall, which, of course, I had very little interest in attending, but somehow it was a game time decision, baby. And I was just like, oh, you have to go over there to like shake the hands and kiss the babies? I'm coming. Fuck it, And that's a band, for those of you who don't know, and you probably don't, sort of, let's call it like an emo metal adjacent sort of whatever band from like 2005, right?
Not the music we typically cover on this podcast.
Very much not, but I love to be a stranger in worlds like this. You know what I mean? I like to, and for those who don't know, I do certainly pride myself on being a heavy metal fan, a punk rock fan. I love heavy music in general. This stuff, when it came out and I was like in 5th grade, there were maybe 2 or 3 songs that were like on, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, you know what I mean, that I was familiar with from playing GameCube or whatever, and I had maybe a few of them on my green iPod mini. Since then, there's been very little listening to 3 Days Grace, but I had to go, and it was like one of those weird things where it's like, oh, this is almost music I like, but it's a little, heavy, but with that sort of saccharine undertone going on. It's, let's just say it wasn't for me. Having said that, love to be a stranger in a strange land like that. You know what I mean? Just people who are going ape shit over music that you don't care for. Unbelievable.
It's a cool thing to witness.
It's really fun. And you know me, I mean, I, to a fault, I'll go to anything, man. I like to just partake in these different subsections of music and see what people are freaking out about. So that was Tuesday. Wednesday, the great Ebo Taylor. He came and played 2 nights at Music Hall of Williamsburg here in the great state of New York and the great city of New York, more importantly. Ebo Taylor, 86 years young, Isaac. He is from Ghana. And he is, an absolute unequivocal legend and, a pioneer of Afrobeat among, many other things. And basically, he's so old and people are hip to the fact that, life's not infinite, you know what I'm saying? And so people were like, holy shit, we have to go see Ebo Taylor. So these 2 nights were a bombastic success, and his band is comprised of, I believe, many of his sons and like their cousins, and it's just a complete family affair. Everybody dressed in flamboyant patterns, playing incredibly rhythmic, danceable, incredible music. And the vibe in there was unparalleled. It was a cross-generational, cross-cultural crowd, which was just a beautiful thing to see. It was just about everything that I like in a concert. And people were throwing down like it was 1993 and Criss Cross was in the building. You know what I'm saying?
I regret not going to this based on the way you just described it, but I have listened to some Ebo Taylor, and that vibe translates through the recorded music and through the live stuff, live videos I watched online. Really cool. Somebody I did not know about until last week when Johnny told us we have to go see this. And I'm so glad you did, because it just sounds like, what the world needs. It
really was what the world needs. I was such a strong believer in, people look for answers in all kinds of places. Like, that is a great place to find your answers, at the Ebo Taylor concert. If you're a searcher, a wanderer, it was a beautiful night of music, and I almost wish I went to the second night. But guess what? I saw my very dear friends, the unstoppable, the little engine that could, Khruangbin, at the Prospect Park Bandshell, which also, in a very different way, of course, they're not from Ghana, they're from Houston, Texas, but, in this sort of world music tradition that they are trying to kind of uphold in their own way, with the Thai funk, among other things, it was very similar in the sense of people of all colors, creeds, ages, getting down to this just unbelievable 3-piece. I feel like we haven't talked about Khruangbin as much as we should on this podcast, because I used to talk about them, whether, if I was ordering dinner, it'd be like, hey, what can I get you, man? I'd be like, hey, I'll take a fried chicken sandwich. And have you heard of Khruangbin? Like, they're really just killing it. Khruangbin used to be every third word out of my mouth, but let me revive that for those of you listening. This band, it's a special thing when you sort of see a band go from 0 to 60 the way they have, right? And I was there at the Relics office in I think it was 16, when they played their first ever quote-unquote New York show. Then there was Rough Trade. Then there was Brooklyn Bowl. Then there was Brooklyn Steel. Then they opened for Leon Bridges 2 nights at Radio City Music Hall. And then the pandemic struck. They did that. And then I opened for them at the Capitol Theater. And then they played Summer Stage that same sort of weekend. Anyway, these are just their New York plays. All I'm saying is now they're selling out 2 nights at Radio City on their own. And they just played a more than sold out Prospect Park band shell. And it's just an amazing thing to behold these 3 people who play real instruments, no tracks. They just get up there and in their minimalistic and super funky way, they just bring the fire every time. And it's just such enjoyable, likable music. And of course, they've done it incredibly well where you're walking into a restaurant, Khruangbin's playing. You're turning on your television. Khruangbin's on every commercial. It's an amazing thing to behold, and I'm just so happy for them. Mark, Laura, and DJ, they're my pals. It was an amazing show.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
The friendship that emerged between you guys and you opening for them at the Capitol Theater.
Good point, Isaac. Let's draw it all back. So, I was there sort of early at those, I was sort of half working out of the Relics office at the time, so I saw them there, by virtue of sort of just being around, But I didn't meet them until Outside Lands 2017. Where I was playing on the same stage as them. They were maybe 2 slots after me. I was playing with Marco Benevento at the time, right? So Marco played at 1 o'clock, and they played at 4 o'clock. So it was really, times have changed. They straight up headlined that festival last year. You know what I mean? Main stage. 40,000 people, whatever it was, absolutely crazy. But back then, I got off stage, right? And I was, Khruangbin fan number 1 at the time. We had 2 copies, actually, of The Universe Smiles Upon You, their debut record, on vinyl. And I did extensive tour bus touring with Marco that year. That year, we were on the bus months at a time, going all around the country. I was 23 years young and happy as a clam, So we're going, and after every show, we get back on our tour bus and we spin the same record, the Khruangbin debut, And so we're at Outside Lands. I just have gotten off stage with Marco, and some gentleman approaches me at the sort of, artist little hang area where I'm pouring myself an iced tea or a lemonade or something. I don't know. And this gentleman goes, "Dude, was that just you up there?" Because I've already changed my outfit, right? And he's like, and I'm like, yeah. Hi, and he's like, "Dude, that we all watched, that was insane. What?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, thank you so much. Are you in one of these bands?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Mark. I'm in Khruangbin." And I was like, oh my God. And I go, please come with me. And I grab him, and then he, Laura was not too far away, and I grab both of them, and we, I bring them into our dressing room, and I'm like, "Marco, this is Khruangbin." Yeah, and he's like, "Oh my God, dude, we spin you guys every fucking day. We love you. Holy shit." And there's actually a really great picture of the Marco Benevento trio and the trio known as Khruangbin that was taken there in 2017. And then, we just kept in touch, and Laura and I, by virtue of being, female bass players and just, people, we kind of kept on in this really, organic, awesome way. And then in 2019, you had a very important part of this, Isaac. They were playing the Capitol Theater, and you were like, "Karina, you should open that show." And I was like, "What?" And you were like, "Yeah, why not?" And I was like, "Holy shit, you're right. Why not?"
And you opened with your trio. Did you have songs at that point?
I had literally not one piece of recorded music to my name. I had been playing shows with my trio that were improvised from the ground up. Not an A section or a B section to jump off of, not a cover tune, zilch. So I sort of took that gig as a real kick in the ass and an impetus to be like, "Karina, you got this dream gig, you know what I mean? You need to fucking write some goddamn songs. What are you thinking, And I got in the studio with my band and recorded my first single, Plants, which now is about to hit 1 million streams on Spotify. And I'm so overwhelmed by the response Plants got. I thought it would never be heard by anyone. and Plants came out 3 days before that Khruangbin show. So that
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and I really, really kind of used that gig as like a real like holy shit. It was just a mindset shift for me. You know what I mean? It was like no, like this isn't. You're not playing in the sandbox anymore. Like this is crazy. Like, and I know I got it by virtue of being pals with them, but also like. I don't know. They wouldn't have let me do it if they didn't like, the recordings of my live band that had been circulating around that time, So very exciting to do that. And, I'll just throw it out here. I am ready to go back on tour with Khruangbin. And I would waste and it wouldn't be a waste. It wouldn't be a waste, but I am ready to spend, 9 months of my life on the road following those guys around. I just think what they're doing is so cool. I love their affect, I love their vibe, and I love their music, and I love them. So
it's a good match on a lot of different levels.
It was
some that I don't think have really been tapped into yet. Some that are yet to be kind of explored, and I think there's more of that in the future.
I like the way you think. I couldn't agree more. And it was a student of you. It was a student of you then, and it's a student of you now. Thank you. One last fact about this show, ladies and gentlemen, that I think was really funny and also jubilating for yours truly, is that I'm at the Khruangbin show. Dancing, all good, look over my shoulder and maybe not 4 feet behind me is David Byrne in a hat, nonetheless, but it's very much David Byrne. He's dancing, he's enjoying, blah, blah, blah. We're in sort of like the VIP section that's to the left of front of house, right? So blah, blah, blah. Very early on in the Khruangbin show, Mark, guitar player, announces from the stage, he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, take this time to introduce yourself to the people around you." And I was like, hot diggity damn if that ain't an opening. So everybody, me and all my friends and whatever, we all just turned around and started shaking everybody's hand, including David Byrne. So that was, an exciting element of the evening, always incredible to see him out and about, let alone enjoying one of your favorite bands just like you are. So
well,
amazing.
I think that's particularly cool because David Byrne is such a important showman who really values finding humanity and humanness amongst cerebral, ecstatic, and kind of driving music. So for there to be a break in the show,
yes,
in which you're encouraged to meet your neighbor amidst sort of collective dance party musical environment. I mean, that is a wonderful setting to meet David Byrne in. That's not, meeting him as a friend of a friend at a gala event. That is
certainly,
taking part in the beauty of communal experience with somebody who has been such an arbiter of that over so many years and inspired, what Khruangbin does, but also just like the fact that music happens in Summer Stage and Prospect Park. I mean, just across the another borough in Manhattan at Central Park stopped making sense, and then things like that. So I don't know. There's a kind of interesting sort of generational transmission happening with that, which I just think is so. I don't know. It's so cool.
It was so cool. Exactly. You couldn't have said it better myself. It felt like the most opportune, and in that good way, right? Because sometimes it wasn't like I was there, and having a prolonged conversation with David Byrne, but we were taking part in the celebration of the music, which is exactly what I want to do with him. You know what I mean? Not that I don't want to. Of course, I would love to pick his brain and sit across from him at a dinner and go deep, with words. But we were going plenty deep without them, and it's a beautiful, beautiful kind of night in the park. An amazing thing. Khruangbin's still on tour. People, go see him. Go see them while they're hot, but go see them while they're not playing arenas because these guys, there's not a ticket left on the table wherever they go. It bodes well for the future. I'm just so happy for them, and they're yet another sort of glimmering example in my head of a band that, say what you will, but they have done exactly as they have pleased from the get-go and stuck to it and have had immeasurable success doing it. And that's, the only thing I care about, you know what I mean, is just seeing people be themselves to the nth degree, and they've done exactly that. So fucking go Khruangbin, guys.
For the record, I really like them too. It's just very hot in New York City right now.
Oh, baby.
And, it takes a lot to get me out to a park.
Oh, it was
this
very
record
caliente.
heat. It was muy caliente.
Yeah,
right?
I
No?
was schwitzing for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And Isaac, you took a trip to a very sweaty place
Yes.
to see another one of our favorite bands that have been unequivocally themselves from the get-go and have had immeasurable success.
Totally.
Tell me.
Well, we haven't really dished on Phish. I guess we did when we saw all of the Jam Band Olympics was our big Phish tour episode. But
Yes.
They have played a bunch of shows since we last talked about them. And yes, this 3-night run in Atlantic City. But last Tuesday, August 2nd, they were at Blossom Music Center in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio.
Boom.
And I couch toured that show and, sort of listened in and out. And I just thought, like, wow, this is a very, very special show. And, really great second set, a lot of fun jamming, and it really, translated from the couch. The next night they didn't have quite as much luck because of the weather delay in Clarkston. At the Pine Knob Music Amphitheater, they had to cut their set break and play one long set.
Which hadn't happened since Fenway,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, Fenway some years ago.
Yeah.
There was a rain delay, and they played through. But yeah, then they took over the beach in Atlantic City for 3 nights. You and I have seen many Phish shows in Atlantic City, but neither of us had been to the beach setup until this point. We'd done
Correct. All Boardwalk Hall and
Bader Field.
Bader Field, yes.
But this was very cool, and they did it last year in 21 for 3 nights, and repeated this same setup. And it seems like the first night was particularly successful. People are really talking about how deep the jams went in the second set of the first night. But yeah, myself and our producer Marlo Shankweiler showed up for the Saturday night show, and as you said, unequivocally themselves, and they continue to delight the people who love them the most. And it was really just something else to see all of these people on the boardwalk and on the beach in Atlantic City. I mean, it just seemed like there was no end to the audience. It was just
kept going
and going, and they really played to, I think, that energy and the ocean beside them, and it definitely blew my expectations out of the water,
you will,
for what Phish on the Atlantic City beach could be. I could see making a point of going for all 3 nights if they do this again next year.
Was it reminiscent at all of being in Mexico, or were you still cognizant of the fact that you were in Atlantic City, even though you were by the ocean?
It's hard not to be cognizant of the fact that you're in Atlantic City when you're there. It is a one-of-a-kind kind of place, for better or for worse. There's a lot to love. There's a lot to wonder about in terms of the general activity that takes place in Atlantic City.
Especially under that boardwalk, let me tell you.
It was a little bit different from Mexico in the sense that the sort of all-out and inclusive, not in the sense of your food and drink is taken care of,
Sure.
but inclusive in the sense that in Mexico, like, Chris Carota lights the trees.
Yes.
Here you had some floodlights on the audience throughout the entire show.
Understood. And are people actually, I'm sure people are, but you, Isaac, you're there, right? You wear flip-flops to the show? What'd you wear?
I wore sneakers to the show, which I don't know if it was the right choice.
Did you take them off at any point?
I kept them on.
You kept them on?
I don't know if I really, I think something about only going for one night.
Sure.
I didn't know how, deep in the water I was about to get.
Certainly.
At this show.
What about our producer, Marlo Shankweiler?
She did take her shoes off once we found a place to stand.
Very interesting. Very
Yes.
interesting. You see, these are the things I really, because in Mexico, we've seen Phish in Mexico a number of times, right? You go. You're pretty much unequivocally going to be either in sandals or barefoot the entire time.
Yes,
it's part
agreed.
of the vibe, right? But I too think if I were just going down for the day, I would have donned sneakers.
Yeah.
And then you're there and then you're on sand, baby, and like you're wishing you were in sandals or something, or at least barefoot. I don't know.
Well, these are important questions, and I didn't really go in with the sort of anthropological headspace that sometimes I do go into a Phish show with. I was a little bit more there on vacation or something.
Totally. But without the sandals to back it up, baby.
I don't know.
No, it's a thing. It's a thing. I feel like I would have pulled a U in this regard as well.
A little bit dipping my toe.
Yeah.
With the sneaker on in the Atlantic City beach experience. Delightful. But it was also just, to share that experience with so many people who don't, get shut out because they could just keep selling tickets on the beach. So
certainly
people who wanted to be there were really able to get themselves there. It was just amazing to see how much Phish lights up people's faces. Really,
it's the best thing ever.
It's really a very cool thing, and you're going to be seeing them tomorrow
in
Toronto.
Good point, Isaac.
And then they'll be closing out this sort of stint of the summer tour with 3 nights at Alpine over the weekend before closing it out for real. At Dick's in Colorado Labor Day weekend.
Which is a beautiful thing that they, we say always, of course there was a pandemic interruption, but it's become very much an expected thing that Phish will close out their summer with Dick's.
Although we do have an added additional night this year, 4 nights. Very interesting.
Very enticing. And then, of course, in the middle of all this, between Alpine and Dick's, our friend Trey Anastasio is going to the Beacon Theater to perform 2 acoustic nights on the 19th and 20th of August.
Yes, last time we talked about this on the podcast, you seemed to think that the sound system was going to interpret Trey's words into another language.
Correct.
So we'll have to see how that develops.
I'm going to come back with all the hot goss on this. I'm going to come back, talk about an anthropological study. I am going to go deep, and I'm going to call everybody I've ever known and find out why I think that. They're testing out and installing and keeping in the Beacon Theater a smart, quote-unquote, sound system. What that entails, I heard some rumblings through my friends who book shows at the Beacon Theater. Blah, blah, blah. I will do a far better job of retaining what it is that they were told, interpreting it, and then delivering it back on this podcast next week. But yeah, I hope that it's, I hope
you're your own smart sound system.
I am my own smart sound system. Turns out I don't need a computer chip, baby. It's all in here, and we're gonna figure it out. But yeah, Trey stays busy. Trey, also the Trey Anastasio band just announced they are going to play Halloween weekend in Chicago. So this is fun. This is great. It quells any sort of rumblings or rumors that Phish was going to do Halloween.
I will be in Azerbaijan for Halloween, which...
Isaac.
It's very exciting.
Wildly. I mean, the global nature of the man sitting next to me. I mean, it's unbelievable. That's going to be the best.
I just thought Azerbaijan, Halloween, I've seen Phish enough times. It's time to finally go for the gold.
Dip your sneakered toe into the proverbial waters
of Baku.
I mean, it seems right to me, baby. I will be performing at Halloween in Live Oak, Florida, at the Spirit of the Suwannee Park, which is always a treat, and I look forward to being there. And that's going to be great, which is also put on by the same gentleman, Mr. Michael Berg, who puts on Sacred Rose, the inaugural Sacred Rose, which I'm really looking forward to at the end of this month.
We got to have him on the podcast.
Dude, he's great.
Turn it around on him.
Yeah, be like, Berg, let's talk about you for a second. Forget about me. Forget about Khruangbin, Kamasi, Hiatus Coyote, the War on Drugs, Goose. I could rattle off the whole Sacred Rose lineup. No. We want to hear behind the man that put this all together. He's a great dude. All bullshit aside, I really love him very much, and it's incredible that literally the stage I play on is all those people I just mentioned. It goes me, Blue to Tiger.
So cool.
Dude, it's the best. Hiatus Coyote, Kamasi Washington, closed out by my friends in Khruangbin. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a real time to be alive. So looking forward to that. And, we're in a beautiful moment in time here. Isaac tonight is going to go see Jimmy motherfucking Buffett at Jones Beach, the perfect locale to see him.
Will I wear sandals or sneakers? It remains to be seen.
I mean, that sounds like a Birkenstocks kind of evening to me.
I think it is.
If there were ever a time or place, it's definitely that. Yeah. I will definitely say that. And I am going to see a very different type of music. I'm going to see Rage Against the Machine and Run the Jewels opening for them live at Madison Square Garden. We'll be having a different kind of evening.
Well, I'll be catching Run the Jewels and Rage this Friday.
Fantastic.
So next week we can compare notes.
I mean, there's a lot of live music notes that we will have to compare after this week. I can't wait. These shows have been moved, since 2020 or whatever. Or so, I don't know. It's been
I think that's right.
It's been a long, long time. OG lineup. They're not doing anything fancy with it. Meaning, it's not like, yo, check out this new single, like blah blah blah. No, it's distilled 90s Rage Against the Machine. The world needs it now more than ever, and it's a message that is wildly important. And I'm so, forget the message. Just kidding. Don't forget the message. But the riffs definitely hold the message near and dear. But let me tell you about the riffs that's literally support the message like a beautiful magic carpet ride to the soul. Honestly, they're going to have to hire a little extra security detail for your girl because I'm going to break every seat in the place. It's going to be bad. Nothing gets me from point A to point B faster than a little Rage Against the Machine, just for the record. So I'm wildly excited about this. And yeah, bright and early, plane to Toronto.
That's going to be very cool.
Seeing the Phish from Vermont in Toronto.
Have you seen them in Toronto before?
Never.
No? Canada? No.
Never seen them in Canada.
Neither have I.
It's going to be exciting.
It'll be very exciting.
I've only seen, I have family in Canada, for those of you listening, family in Toronto. But, considering I have been going there, it's been a minute. But when I was growing up, we would go 4 times a year, like whatever. Like, definitely have dug my toes into Toronto. I've only seen 3 concerts there. Chromeo, Beck, and Katie Lang.
Nice.
Not bad, right? Not bad. All in, the last, I want to say 6 years, so pretty crazy. Definitely, there were no concerts growing up.
Sure. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to returning to the motherland and seeing my family and doing it up. So it's always fun to bring, I'm bringing one of my cousins to the Phish show. He's never seen Phish. It's always an adventure. Am I right?
Definitely. He has a lot to look forward to.
I think so too.
Well, Karina, on that note, have the best time at Rage Against the Machine.
Dude.
Have the best time in Toronto.
You have the best time at Jimmy Buffett. We will reconvene next week. I'm so glad there's so much live music to take part in these days, and we're not even skittish about it. We're just going balls deep like we said we would back in the throes of 2020 when there was nary a pin dropping for us to go listen to. Seizing the day, enjoying the music, enjoying this life. And we beg, beseech, and implore you all to do the same. And even if you don't, have the best time in your life over the next week. Do whatever makes you happy, baby. And we will come back to you next week. But first, we have to shout out our producer, Marlo Shankweiler. She wore sandals to the Phish show. She's the best. She makes the podcast happen. Shout out to our friend, Brian Brinkman, RJB. These are the people behind the scenes at Osiris that make this whole thing run, baby. We're delighted to be a part of it, and thank you guys so much for having us. And thank you, the listeners, for listening. We can't wait to be back with you next week, sending sincere amounts of love. Take care.
Take care. Have fun. Bye.
Osiris.